In this lesson, we're going to be looking at order of operations. So what is order of operations? When you have an equation that you're solving that has more than one operation, and those operations would be addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, or using an exponent, there's a certain order that we solve them in order to get the right answer. So to know this, we use a phrase called Pemdas. So if you're taking notes, we have this right here. Pemdas is the first letter of each word in the phrase, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, and this is going to help us remember the order of operations. The P, if you put in the first box, stands for parentheses. Parentheses can also mean brackets. The second step that we're going to do are exponents. So if you have 3 to the second power, this is an exponent, so we would evaluate that, and 3 squared is equal to 9. In the next step, we would do the MD. M and D is multiply and divide in the same step from left to right. So on your notes, let's fill it in just like you see it here. Multiply and divide in the same step from left to right. So that means that if you have division and then you have times 6, you don't do the multiplication first, you do whatever's to the left first. You work your way from left to right just like when we're reading a book. So I would do 25 divided by 5, which is 5, and then times 6. So I do them in the same step, but from left to right. And then the final step is to do the addition and subtraction in the same step from left to right. So you're not doing the addition and then the subtraction, you're doing whichever comes first when working it left to right. So let's look at some examples of this. What I like to do is look up here, and I'm going to circle or put a box around what I would do in this step. The first step was parentheses. There are no parentheses. The next was exponents. There are no exponents. So the next step would be to multiply and divide in the same step from left to right. So first I have a multiplication, and then I have a division. So I'm going to put a box around those to show myself I'm going to do these two steps from left to right. 82 times 2 is 84. I keep the plus, or 164, I'm sorry, plus 6 divided by 3, which is 2. Now this addition sign I just brought down. I haven't evaluated that yet. I only did the multiplication and division. And then our last step, we do the addition and subtraction. Well, there's only addition, so I simply do 164 plus 2, which is 166. So that one only had 2 steps. Wasn't too difficult. Okay, so if we look at this one, our first step would be to do the parentheses. Well, in the parentheses, we have a subtraction. That's okay. Whatever the operation is within the parentheses, we're going to do that first. So 10 minus 7 would be 3. So when we evaluate that, we now have 4 times 3. This is the only thing we evaluated, and it was 3. Copy the rest of the problem down. Now, what do I have left? Well, I have 4 times 3 plus 2 times 3. So I have some multiplication and addition, and I learned that in the next step I would multiply or divide. So I have the 4 times 3 and I have the 2 times 3. I'm only evaluating the multiplication, not the addition. 4 times 3 is 12. 2 times 3 is 6. And then in the last step, we add them together, which would be 18. It's very systematic, and it works the same every time. You just have to follow the right order of operations. Now on this next one, you'll see that we have a set of parentheses here, and we also have a set of brackets, which works like parentheses. So what we're going to do is start with the innermost parentheses or brackets. So the first thing we're going to do is what's inside, which is the 7 plus 5. Show that right there. 7 plus 5 first. 7 plus 5 is 12. So now within the brackets, which I changed to parentheses, it's the same thing. It can be a bracket, it can be a parentheses. All I have left now is a subtraction and a division. Well, I have learned that division comes before subtraction. So within this parentheses, next, I'm going to do the division. So that would leave me 5 times, in parentheses or brackets, 11 minus 3, because 12 divided by 4 is 3. Now, we still have a set of parentheses that we have to evaluate. All of this has been trying to get the parentheses or original brackets down to one number. So now we do the parentheses, which is 11 minus 3, and 11 minus 3 is 8. So now the last step is the multiplication, which is 40. So if you have more than one set of parentheses, you will have brackets just so you can tell which is parentheses and which is brackets. You're going to do the innermost first until you have completely solved the brackets or parentheses down to one number. In our next example, we start with our parentheses. So you'll see that in parentheses we have 15 plus 5. We're going to do that first. And that would equal 20. So we have 100 divided by 20 minus 2. What do we do in our next step? We have division and subtraction. We're going to do the division. And 100 divided by 20 is 5. And then in our last step, we're going to do the subtraction, and it would be 3, following the order of operations. So as you go through your paper now, just remember to go Pemdas, parentheses first, any exponent second, multiply and divide in the same step from left to right, add and subtract in the same step from left to right. Good luck.